Hi friends. Have you ever considered how you'd react if you heard someone was being held against their will for weeks by a stranger? Today's case involved all these components, but an acquaintance investigated and instigated a rescue. Let me share the details because elder abuse matters. This case comes from an email sent by a friend of the victim. Hi Lolli. After what happened to my friend, I started searching the internet for other similar cases and I found your channel. Perhaps your viewers will be interested in my friend's unusual case. A couple of years ago, Kathy, who was then only an acquaintance, was 68 years old. I didn't know her well, as we had only met a few times at a book club. She seemed quiet and nice, and I really didn't know anything else about her though. At the time, I received a very brief email from her saying that she was being held in her home by a man she didn't know and she needed help. Oh my goodness, this was very odd, as I'd never gotten an email from her before, unless it was part of the book club's group emails. My first thought was that this was one of the scams where everyone on a victim's email address list is emailed that the victim is stuck in a foreign country and needs an emergency $5,000 to get home. But on closer inspection, the email didn't ask for money or explain the problem. It was just one sentence long. Help me now. I decided it couldn't hurt to show it to the local police, so I called them right away. They too were a little skeptical, but offered to check on Kathy just in case. I couldn't even tell them where she lived, but of course they have access to that information and soon were at her door. Apparently, a man in his 50s answered the door and was very irritated with the police. He wouldn't let them in and wouldn't answer their questions about Kathy. He insisted that he was alone in the house and that they get off his property immediately. The police said that the property belonged to someone else and the man said he had rented it, but he wouldn't say for how long or show them a lease. An officer kept trying to talk to him, stalling for time, hoping that the man would somehow incriminate himself or that they could find another reason to enter the home. While in discussion, another officer circled the house, looking in windows, and finally he saw a woman sitting in a chair in a room at the rear of the house, who appeared to be frail. When he returned to the front door, he informed the irritated man that they were aware there was a woman inside and he had two options. He cooperates with the police by letting them in and he'd not be in much trouble, or 2, they'd go get a search warrant while continuing to watch the house and then he'd be in really big trouble. The man reluctantly chose option 1, I guess because he was scared of the consequences and because he realized they weren't just going to leave. Once inside, the police went right to Kathy and found her hands tied to a chair and her mouth covered with duct tape. She appeared to be in poor health and they called for an ambulance. While waiting, she told him that he had broken into her home about 2 weeks ago, but she had lost track of time. From what she could tell, he had been hiding from something or someone, and they had been living off the food she had on hand, which had run out several days earlier. While he hadn't physically hurt her directly, she hadn't been able to take her medications regularly, and she'd had her wrist tied to something most of the time to restrict her freedom. The man was arrested and taken away. Kathy was kept in hospital for a few days until she was stable again and then released. It was at that point that I heard from her these details and others. She went on to tell me that daily he had been using her computer, and once he had left it on when he went to the next room to get a drink. She didn't happen to be tied up at that time, and although she couldn't make an escape from the room she was in, she could quickly open her email and send a message to the first name that came up in her address book. As my last name starts with the letter A, it was my name. She only had enough time to type the one-sentence plea for help and hit send before she heard him returning to the room. Then she prayed that I'd take it seriously and contact the police. It was only a few hours later that she heard the knock on her front door, and the man quickly taped her mouth shut before opening it to the police officers. Kathy said she was very sorry to have to involve me, especially as we hardly knew each other. I assured her that I was happy to have helped. And soon after her return home, she had an alarm system installed in an effort to feel safe there. But she still is nervous when alone. We have gone on to be great friends over these last 2 years, and all because of an email for help. The man was charged and found guilty of kidnapping, neglect of an elder, exploitation of an elder, and isolation of an elder. 3 of these are felony charges. He told the judge that he owed a lot of money to some drug dealers who were trying to track him down and possibly kill him, and that's why he broke into and was hiding out in Kathy's home. Maybe he'll be safe from drug dealers while he's in prison. Well, friends, thank goodness this acquaintance didn't just ignore the emailed plea for help, assuming that it was just a scam. No, she took quick action just in case, and the police also took it seriously. Who knows if Kathy's health would have failed without her medications and she might have died, waiting to be rescued or for the man to leave. What a horrific experience. It appears that the courts also took this man's bad choices seriously when they found him guilty of the 4 charges and sent him to prison for kidnapping and abusing this elderly woman. I hope he's in there quite a long time. What do you think of this case? Did anything surprise you, like that Kathy was able to get the email sent while he was out of the room? Or that he finally let the police into the house without a warrant? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And let's hope that the kidnapping and abuse of seniors is always a serious criminal offense, because elder abuse matters. Friends, our goal here is to share abuse cases so that you'll know that you are not alone if you are suffering from elder abuse. While we are not counselors, we hope that it is somewhat therapeutic to hear other stories. And it may also be helpful to anonymously share your own story of abuse on this channel and help others. Just check the show notes below to find out how. And finally, please like, share, and subscribe now to grow this channel so that together we can reduce the abuse, because elder abuse matters. Please stay safe, seek help, and know that I am praying for you.